It's not every day I see a show that delivers epic world building, a full well-realized ensemble of characters, an immaculate lore, and a plot so well written you actually forget what you put in the microwave. So when I do see one, I am just obliged, almost compelled even, to talk about it. And that's why today I'm going to give my brutally honest thoughts on The Wheel of Time Season 3. I'm also going to give my honest answer as to whether this show can succeed in becoming the cultural phenomenon that Game of Thrones was, or if it will end up being just another fantasy show. So let's get into it. Now, for as long as I can remember, I've just been searching for the show that would quench that thirst that Game of Thrones left me with. After Game of Thrones ended, it was traumatic for me for two reasons. One being that it ended. The second one being that it ended badly. That can do stuff to you. I remember just looking everywhere for a show or story that was anywhere near it in sheer scope and depth. And for the longest time, I did not get that, even with the release of House of the Dragon. But now I think I have. Wheel of Time is a gargantuan body of work that I don't think any one show could do full justice to. And that's what I love about it. I haven't read the books, but from doing my research, I know it's a thick stack. When season 1 of Wheel of Time aired, I was satisfied. It wasn't really anything special, but it was a satisfactory beginning that set up the show quite nicely. Season 2 was a noticeable step up, still nothing mind-blowing yet, but it was setting up more things that would really broaden up the story. And obviously it had a bigger budget, because the special effects were better than in season 1. And there were a lot more characters and locations in season 2 as well. Season 2 was really good, way better than season 1. But season 3. Now, there are some major problems about this season, and I'm going to talk about all that. But first, let's talk about what this season did right. Starting from the characters. Every single character in this season gave a whole new meaning to character development. They each went on a journey that felt earned. A journey that transformed them in both subtle and profound ways. And I'm not going to credit this to season 3 alone, because this is a culmination of each character's story right from season 1. In season 1, we were introduced to each of them while they were still young and naive, like Nynaeve. Yes, that was on purpose. And in season 1, they, our main protagonists, were mostly trying to figure out where they fit in all this, while simultaneously trying to stay alive. And then in season 2, they had a clearer understanding of their roles, but they weren't quite there yet. But now in season 3, everyone knows what they're supposed to do, everyone knows their role, and they're all content and even eager to take up that responsibility. It's such smooth and intriguing character development that's frankly simple, but not easy to pull off at the same time. And I credit the writers of the show for doing such fine work with that. In season 3, even characters that were brand new to us all had this intricate characterization to them. The Forsaken like Morgedian, Raven, what's the name of the other one? Jabril? Yeah, that last one didn't have the best character development, but then again, there's only so much you can shine the spotlight on in just 8 episodes. But aside the Forsaken, even the Aes Sedai like Swan, Moiraine, Leandra, and Varen, we got to see other sides of them that made them feel more real. The lore of the Tower politics also helped with that, but we'll get to that in a bit. Even new characters like Queen Morghese and Elaida were amazing and interesting to watch. I've mentioned so many characters right now, and it's crazy that each of them brings something profound to the story. It is wild. And I have to credit the producers and writers of the show, because it is not easy to navigate so many characters from the books and still develop them intricately within the constraints of a TV show. It is not an easy feat. And one of the reasons Game of Thrones did so well was because the writers of that show were able to do it successfully. Usually when there are so many characters in a story, it's hard to be invested in all of them. You might be really interested in some of them and not care about the others at all, or worse, you're not interested in any of them. Wheel of Time had astounding characterization, and I'm genuinely curious of what the future holds for our main protagonists and our antagonists as well. Another thing I want to talk about is the world building, and this is very broad, because as some of you probably know, the Wheel of Time world is a very expansive world, and I've come to realize that the show hasn't even begun to explore the fullest depths of what this world is or could be. Regardless, this season really opened up the Wheel of Time world to viewers in a way that other seasons prior did not. That's why for this, I'm going to break it into parts: culture and societies, magic systems, prophecy and myth, and political intrigue. Let's start with the culture in Wheel of Time. Wheel of Time is that kind of show that really shows you what diversity in its true sense looks like. There are numerous societies, each with their own distinct culture, and they all feel incredibly real and cohesive. tied together by the central concept of the will. It's a unique and refreshing approach to world building that you don't often see in fiction. Some of my favorites are Tar Valon and the Aiel. By the way, the Aiel are the guys. Those guys are the type of people you wish you meet in the club. Don't ask me why. Anyway, Tar Valon is an interesting place to me solely because of the Aes Sedai. I mean, the presence of the tower in the city and how it just affects life there, because there's just no way you're going to be in the same city with hundreds of Aes Sedai and you're going to live a normal life. There's just no way. The magic system. This is another strong suit of the show. The magic system, or power system, whatever you want to call it, is the One Power. And the One Power is like this force of nature that basically allows you to manipulate the forces of nature. It can be channeled from something literally called the source, and so anyone who is able to channel this power and effectively utilize it can do anything from filtering a glass of water to creating a literal hailstorm. It just depends on your level of mastery and your innate channeling prowess. The magic system is pretty cool, especially the weaving effects. It's different from magic in most fiction, and I really like that. The prophecies and the myths. Wheel of Time is rife with so many prophecies, I can't even wrap my head around it. And when I think of all the elements of the story, this is what makes it most similar to real life, because in the real world, a lot of people are very religious, and there are whole countries who believe heavily in prophecies or myths, or whatever it may be. But we don't see that reality represented enough in fiction, so I'm kind of happy that Wheel of Time does that and does it well. Then we talk about the politics, because what is a world without politics? From everything that happens in faraway kingdoms like Tanchico to everything that happens in the White Tower, it's really interesting and intriguing. That said, I can't bring myself to say it's anywhere as good as the political madness that ensues in Game of Thrones. But Wheel of Time does hold its own, especially in Season 3 with the White Tower. Tar Valon was probably my favorite location this season because this season really just showed us how brutal things can be in there, especially now with the Block Aja being exposed and Swan's influence as the Amerlin being really shaky. Speaking of the Amerlin, that seat is not as secure as I thought it was. You have to be a stone cold monster if you're going to take that seat. Elaida was a very interesting and smart addition to this season. On top of the already very heightened situation with the handful of Aes Sedai being underlings of the Dark One, you just added this whole new level of tension as this unknown variable who Swan doesn't particularly know how to deal with. I mean, it doesn't get more high stakes than that. I also want to add that the actors gave their best performances. I mean, Rosamund Pike, who plays Moiraine, was just wilding this season. She is one of those actors who don't need to talk too much because her face and expressions already say everything. All that being said, I do have some major problems with this season, and they are problems that I simply could not ignore. And the first one, which is probably noticeable to a lot of people, is that it felt rushed. This season felt like it was barreling through crucial points in the story. I mean, there were so many things happening all at once, especially in the last episode. Episode 8 was good, but it felt so jarring at times that you could tell they were just chopping things. And I haven't read the books, so I can only imagine how it must feel for someone that has. In the last episode, there was this scene where Matt, Elaine, and Nynaeve tried to get the Adon before the Black Aja. But the Black Aja are already in the palace, searching for it as well. And Aes Sedai is right in front of Matt, and Min just like boinks her in the head with a stick or something. That was odd, okay? There's no way you're taking out an Aes Sedai by just hitting her in the head. It's not happening, except they're like Dwayne The Rock Johnson or something. And even then, it's highly unlikely. And I know the only reason they did this was because they just wanted to move things along. And besides that, which is just like a nitpick for me personally, there were some things that happened so fast and that came to this rapid conclusion when they should have been given more time to grow. A good example of this is Egwene's dream walking. I did a bit of research and apparently Egwene spent way more time mastering the craft in the books than she did in the show. And it makes sense. Dream walking is a skill that's supposed to be a journey, like learning a new language or a new history or how to use a sword. You don't just learn that in one episode. It takes all the emotional stakes away and undermines the journey for the character and ultimately the viewer. Another example is how we didn't get to see the full richness of the Aiel culture. Again, I haven't read the books, but from research I did and some comments I found on Reddit, the Aiel culture wasn't explored to the best extent, especially in regards to something called the bleakness, which is supposed to be a danger of the Aiel learning about their culture. And these are just some examples of the show either rushing through important plot points or just delivering a payoff of a plot point that hasn't been sufficiently built upon. I know that's a lot of words, I hope you get what I mean though. And you know, interestingly, this is a major area that Game of Thrones got it wrong along the line. More emphasis was placed on shock value and giving the audience almost immediate gratification, rather than building up or setting up something for an extended period and then paying it off in a big way. With the first path, the audience might be entertained in the moment, but it wouldn't stick and it wouldn't feel deserved, especially if it's an epic story like A Song of Ice and Fire, or in this case, The Wheel of Time. Now, I am fully aware that streaming has fundamentally changed how we watch TV and how companies produce TV shows, but the truth is, if Wheel of Time is going to become the cultural staple it's very well supposed to be, the audience needs to have the story and the world in all of its richness, no shortcut. And this is a great segue into my million-dollar question. Will Wheel of Time live up to or even overtake the precedent set by Game of Thrones? At least from the 3 seasons that are out now, my honest answer is that the show genuinely has the potential to, if it maintains its current quality, and the producers quit rushing through key plot points. Because that was the major downfall of Game of Thrones. The producers lost sight of what made the show special in the first place, and they prioritized immediate gratification for the audience over the build-up and the payoff of the story. That's the brutal truth, and I would hate to see that happen to The Wheel of Time, especially now that we have it. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Did you enjoy Wheel of Time Season 3? Did you not? What do you think about its future? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.